Welcome to another episode of New Teacher Talk, where we discuss the most common challenges that early career educators experience and find answers, whether you're in a rural, suburban, or urban setting. We're here to support and inspire you. We talk about the highs and lows that educators experience and how to find balance. And we're here to offer a community of support through our socials. Follow us on Instagram at New Teacher Talk and on X at New Teacher Talk 1. I'm Dr. Anna, a board-certified early childhood generalist whose past and current roles include elementary teacher, department chair, teacher educator, mentor, consultant, and multi-potentialite.
And I'm Dr. Beth. My roles as an educator, both currently and in the past, include being a high school band director, mentor, teacher educator, and researcher. I'm really proud of my newest career, Jam, as an educational podcaster and editor for other channels. On today's episode, we'll be focusing on feeling successful in a new teaching position. It's the perfect topic considering where we are in the school year. We are excited to have Rachel Gess and Brad Winter as our guests today to share their insights and experiences as professional educators and their work as Amergis Educational Staff recruiters. For those of our listeners that are not familiar with Amergis, they are a nationwide staffing company with over 100 teams across the United States who recruit and support K through 12 educators, administrators, and staff who are working every day to really make a difference in the lives of students. Additionally, we are especially pleased to share that Amergis, through our work with Ryan Lamping, has partnered with New Teacher Talk for a series of episodes throughout the 2024-2025 school year based on topics that aspiring teachers and early career educators want to hear.
Welcome to New Teacher Talk, Rachel and Brad. Would you tell us a little bit about your background and your work with Amergis?
I'm Rachel Gess. I am a national recruitment manager with Amergis Educational Staffing. Prior to my current role, I was a speech language pathologist assistant for 2 years, and then I taught reading and middle school social studies for almost 10 years. And I know that my years of teaching are what motivate me to continue to serve in the field of education, even though my role does look a bit different.
So I'm Brad Winter, and I've been with Amergis here going on about 3 years. I'm currently in a business development manager role. And prior to being here with Amergis, I used to be a special education teacher, and I taught kindergarten through third grade.
You bring your classroom experience to your new roles and are able to really think about what it takes to be a classroom teacher so that you're able to find right fits for people.
Absolutely, having had the experience both internally as a teacher formally and then, externally here in a staffing agency type of format, being able to see both ends of the spectrum, if you will, has definitely benefited me. And I think benefited everybody that I've worked with as well.
That is what has attracted us to your educational staffing company is because of the team of staff that find great talent and make placements throughout the country. Both of you have experience in the classroom in different parts of the country too, and in different contexts. And you know all too well what new teachers or early career teachers are going to be faced with as they walk into a new position. There's always this anxiety, right? So, given your work and your interaction with lots of teachers, when stepping into a new position, what do you think are ways to do so while maintaining a work-life balance?
So I can start here. I think first and foremost, it's so important to remember that you are irreplaceable at home. And that took me a while to learn. But after I had kids of my own, I had to learn that quickly. I think you end up getting so invested with some students that it really truly is hard to detach, but organization is going to be key. It's absolutely possible to get everything done during your workday, but it does take time to get comfortable and to develop a routine. But collaborating with your team to lesson plan and taking advantage of those professional development days are great steps to eventually be able to leave work at work.
I really appreciate your point about collaboration, Rachel, and working with your team, whether it's grade level team members or content area team members at the secondary level, because it does lighten the load. And there's something to be said about a profession where collaboration and working together makes the whole process easier and better able to reach the needs of students while keeping in mind work-life balance. Brad, what advice are you giving to people about starting a new position and maintaining work-life balance?
Yeah, I think my biggest two pieces that I give to my former self, if I were going back into the field, would be first and foremost, setting boundaries for yourself as to what is a realistic expectation, I think, of where you're supposed to be professionally and personally as well. I think it's really easy to get lost at looking at other people's success or where they are in their profession and kind of comparing yourself to that. Where you are is not where you're going to be forever. And then again, setting goals to get where you want to be, setting clear guidelines and timelines for what that's going to look like. Because again, otherwise it's really easy to get lost in that noise. And I think just overstress and overwhelm yourself to prevent you from actually staying focused and getting to that goal that you have set. And then second too, I think traditionally, and it's just in schools in general, we talk about problems in education and just like anything else, there's tons that we're trying to navigate that as it is day in, day out. But I think it's important to, again, set boundaries and set expectations, but also being comfortable with saying no. Knowing your limits, knowing when it's appropriate to step up and take more on that you're comfortable and being able to succeed at, but then also knowing when it's time to say no and focus in and hunker down on what you have on your plate already. Because at some point, if you burn yourself out, anything more that you take on to your plate, you're just not going to be your strongest self and you're not going to be able to do what you need to do. So it's important to be self-reflective, I think, and be okay with saying that, enough is enough and to focus in on what you're doing.
I really appreciate the fact that you're thinking about how you are knowing yourself and thinking about goals that you're setting for yourself and knowing what it is that you want from your career and to, again, as you said, Brad, stay in your lane to achieve those goals. I also appreciate that you talked about developing those routines. This brings me to the next question that I have. How might early career teachers utilize those available fellow teaching peers, the available resources, and mentors to facilitate a strong start to their careers or their years?
So I suggest talking with resource teachers at school to see which resources have worked well for them, especially for students who may be struggling. For example, I had the opportunity to work with students who had dyslexia. And so there was a whole area of teaching that I had not experienced before. And I really had to lean on our resource teachers to navigate that. I think learning styles are so important. My success with teaching, especially middle schoolers, was tailoring lesson plans to various learning styles. I think this also sets students up for success in the future because they know the type of learning that works well for them. And if you taught last year, take a look at your old lesson plans and see how you can make them even better, what worked and what didn't work. And again, I just suggest leaning on coworkers, the seasoned and new teachers, about what worked for them. And then you can shape and mold their success to be your own. I found that new teachers had great energy and fresh ideas that I had not thought of before.
Always, they come in with those new ideas. And while it sometimes seems a little uncomfortable for someone that's been in the field for a while, when you really look at it, you also, when you came into the field, you had these different kinds of ideas that other people might have scrunched up their faces about, but you were able to carry them off. And so that's how we have to look at also changing our own teaching and growing in our teaching. Brad, what are you thinking?
I mean, a few things on that. And Rachel, I totally agree, with what you're saying with collaborating and working with your peers and really just leaning on them, to learn more. Some things that I tell my team, I tell them to be a sponge. And what I mean by that is, just soak in everybody's learning styles and their delivery and classroom management, behavioral styles, how they decorate their classroom, big, small, it doesn't matter. Take a little bit of everything from everybody that's around you and make it your own. Take what works for you and incorporate that into your own style. Disregard what doesn't work for you, but at least analyze it and see if it could work, and then take it and run with it if it does. I think it starts for new teachers, especially, it starts in that interview process. It starts with scouting for those positions and understanding what is available to you within that district. Does it align with what you're looking for? Are the supports in place? Are you going to be provided a mentor? How long is that mentor going to last for? What's that look like? Is the administration supportive? Those are types of questions that you need to be asking yourself, I think, before you even set foot into that interview room. But then additionally, too, as far as older teachers go that might have been in the career a little bit longer, I think it's important to not be too on your high horse, if you will, that it's important to understand. I mean, I think it's been incredible how much the technology boom has gotten its way into the classroom. But even just over the last year or two, I've seen so much technology advance that I even feel out of touch. And I've only been out in the classroom for 2 years. So it's important to stay integrated with that. But then also, like Rachel said, lean on your coworkers and your peers, even if they might be younger and newer into the profession, but you'd be surprised as to what they bring into the classroom setting that you might not already know yourself.
What I'm hearing from both of you is this notion of communication, whether you're communicating with your teaching peers and finding resources, communicating with administrators when you interview about what's the school like, the culture like, communicating with a mentor to give you feedback as a newer teacher. That mentoring communication is critical. Getting to know your students is a form of communication too. I'm just really hearing that thread running throughout both of your responses. That's so important. If we don't ask, if we don't seek out, we'll never get an answer. In your experiences and the many people you've interacted with in the profession, what are you seeing as the common challenges that early career teachers are facing?
And I think that you can say what it is. Maybe it's partially the pandemic and it's the technology boom and it's this. And I think they're all intertwined of what's kind of pushed education to whatever ends of things that you want to say. But as far as employment go, the traditional route of teaching has been pushed for so long. And that being, you apply directly with the district, you get your pension when you retire, you get this and that. Start young and start building your years in the state that you live in. Just these misconceptions that, although they're true, they're not the only avenue. And I think that's a big piece of where I come in through now in my current position as a business development manager, is allowing and teaching others in a different capacity, of course, but still teaching others what other opportunities that they have out there to still teach, to still make changes in the classroom, do what they do best, but possibly also setting themselves up in a future that is more aligned with what they're looking for. I think by allowing yourself to have other opportunities, and one of those opportunities that I have with Emergis is by allowing people to have access to 401ks, which, being still a retirement fund, it's a little bit more flexible than that of a pension, to where you can still relocate and move states and not be still bound down by maybe a certain district or, again, a certain state limitation. And that's just one of the many avenues that I think wasn't expressed to me going through college and going through the traditional route. Looking back, I would have loved to have had that knowledge to then weigh out my opportunities, weigh out my options. And then, I always wonder, if that was presented to me, would I still be teaching? I didn't know anything about my company or things like it at the time. So just explore what's out there and see what really looks best for them, because I think that there is just more out there that meets the eye.
That's really interesting.
What about you, Rachel?
So I believe that some of the common challenges is that you have to remember that every student is different. Behaviors can be frustrating, and some parents have very high expectations for quick communication. There's
Mm.
no set manual or amount of learning that you can do to make for a perfect school year. And you will not connect with every student. And that's challenging because building those meaningful relationships is essential. I overcame that barrier by appealing to that student's or those students' interests. Another challenge for me and for other teachers that I speak to were previous teachers telling me about certain students, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I think it's important to form your own thoughts about a student. You never know what a new school year, new atmosphere, and a new class can do.
You truly speak to those issues that most classroom teachers face, Rachel, because having those fresh eyes for students, it's important to give everyone a new start. And so brings us to our last question. How can someone who is new to a school, new to a district, new to a grade level, how can they contribute right from the start to that school's culture?
A quote that I live by and that I tried to instill on my team here can be used in a lot of ways is truly be the change that you want to see in the world. As cliche as that can be sometimes, I think it's important to align that quote into your daily world, being that it's not necessarily the change you want to see in the world, it's the change that you want to see in your world. That has helped me align myself in understanding that within the education system, I can't change everything. I'm only one person, but what I can do is change one person's life or one person's career path to a positive that then trickles into changing another student's life. And that's a very powerful thing to realize. And I think that same factor holds true in a classroom setting. Understanding when you step into that classroom or into that school culture, what is it that you see that maybe you don't align with, that it could be better in a certain other way? And try to instill that and understand and help people share that same mentality and understanding of where you're coming from. Try to be the change that you want to see in the world and support others and endeavors as well.
Thanks, Brad. Rachel?
I think it's important to join school committees, specifically those committees that fulfill your hobby. For example, I preferred committees surrounding curriculum and instruction because I thrived on learning styles, so I could contribute in that way. And show up to school events, even if it's for a little bit. It's so important to be part of the community and to connect with your students and parents outside of the classroom. They need to know that you are human, you are more than just a teacher. And this helps to build relationships and those connections, which are so crucial in teaching.
And it shows them that you really care and you do want to invest yourself in the community, in their children's lives.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rachel and Brad, for being our guests today. And to our audience, thank you for being here as well. Be sure to follow us on our socials. Each Tuesday, we share a helpful and free teacher resource that you can download through our Instagram page at New Teacher Talk. Also, check out our Thursday Thought to keep you motivated. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, by their username at New Teacher Talk 1.
For even more inspiration, look through our book, The New Teacher's Guide to Overcoming Common Challenges. You'll find advice from award-winning educators, engaging higher education faculty, and new teachers. It can be found at our publisher, Routledge's website, or wherever you buy books. In addition to following us on our socials, we also hope you'll become a regular follower of this podcast channel. Simply hit the button in the upper right-hand corner. And remember, as a new teacher or an aspiring new teacher, we are here to support and champion you.